So in your writing career, I mean, everybody has their ups and their downs, and boy, I could write a series of books on the downs. But what has been your biggest personal accomplishment you feel, and then what has been what you felt your biggest setback, and then how did you overcome that setback and move forward?
Well, as far as the biggest accomplishment, I'm actually going to play show and tell a little bit. Certainly
Awesome.
that first story in that first story in Realms of Fantasy magazine, that was a big personal accomplishment. But another one of my big sales was in this book, Straight Outta Tombstone, and edited by David Boop, published by Baen Books, and features some of my characters from my steampunk series. But I'm in this, alongside me in this book are people like Jim Butcher, Alan Dean Foster, Robert E. Vardaman, Jody Lynn Nye, Larry Correa, people who really have been heroes of mine all through my writing career. There are other friends of mine in this book, people like Nicole Givens Kurtz, who I've admired as a writer, but we've known each other from conventions for a long time. Sam Knight, it was just such a thrill to be in this book with them, and to have characters from my novels actually show up in a book alongside these characters. It's like, to me, that was just on top of the world. And then, I even got to do a signing with several of them up at a bookstore in Denver. So it's like, to actually sit right with these guys, doing the signing was just a whole lot of fun. So that's the big accomplishment. It's, I think all of us have our downs, like you say. And I was trying to think, what's the biggest setback? And I probably the biggest one was I mentioned that I had sold my novel, The Pirates of Sufiro. That first publisher that took it, they ended up going bankrupt and sort of disappearing off the map. And so I actually had to go through the whole process and they were like Lycosis, they were a Canadian company. So I actually had to go hire a Canadian solicitor to go essentially sue them to get my rights back, to get the publishing, to get the publishing rights back, to try to get any royalties that I might have gotten off of the book. I never saw a dime off the first mass market edition of the thing. And, man, that was just a blow. I thought, is anyone going to take this series, seriously at all again? And how do you pick yourself up from that? And I think there's a couple of things that really helped in that. And one is realizing you're not alone. I mean, and pretty much you talk to any author and you realize everyone's got a horror story. From they pretty much have all run into something somewhere that's bad that's happened to them. So we realize, okay, we've got that. The other side of that is, in this particular case, it's like we actually did this as a class action. So, I got to know a couple of the other authors who were also going through this with that particular publisher at the time, and, just exchanging emails and kind of being there for each other. And I think the other part of this is you've just got to keep writing. And in my case, I kind of abandoned my Space Pirates legacy characters for a while. And, I ended up going from that to working on my what would become my Scarlet Order Vampire series. I started writing the vampire characters, and it's like, people ask, why vampires? Well, I was in kind of a dark place at that time in my life, so I start that is part of that story. But where this ended up leading me is, that also brings me up to the point where I met Jake Druga of LBF Books, and actually the vampire book was what I sent to her as the book that, would you be interested in publishing this? And she wrote back and said, oh my God, I absolutely love it. I want to publish it. And what else do you have? And so I trotted out Pirates of Sufero and Children of the Old Stars, because by this point I had the formal court order that said that the rights had reverted back to me, that there was nothing, you know, that was all taken care of and a done deal. And she looked at it and she took it on and said, you know, I'll take it if you have a third book. And that third book became Heirs of the New Earth. So we edited the first two. They brought them out with the LBF editions, and then we did Heirs of the New Earth. I wrote that for Jake, and you know, the rest, as they say, is history. You know, after that, then LBF and you know was bought by Lachesis, and that's how those books ended up with them.
Wow. Yeah, I remember the email from Jackie for Force Vengeance, the hybrid Force Vengeance. And I still, that's the thing that I have printed out in an envelope in my drawer upstairs, that first acceptance. Because I went through the Publish America fiasco. I don't know if you're familiar with that publishing company.
Yeah, I knew some people who went through that.
They had hybrid. They had hybrid hostage for about 3 years.
Oh God, yeah.
There was some drama with that.